State lawmakers launch gun control coalition. State lawmakers have launched a nationwide, nonpartisan coalition to combat gun violence, in part because the Congress has failed to reform gun laws, members of the group said on Monday. And this is a complete propaganda piece by Lacey Johnson, as we'll see. Some 200 lawmakers from 50 states have joined the alliance, American State Legislators for Gun Violence Prevention, said the group's founder, Democratic New York State Assembly member Brian Kavanagh. So 200 people from all 50 states is what they're saying. So on its surface, you would have 4 people per state, let's just say. You go back to your state, what are 4 people going to do in a legislature? Not a whole bunch, right? You would think, oh, whatever, no big deal. They have all 50 states. That's the important thing. So whatever legislation they all decide upon in this group, coalition, cartel, whatever, each state legislature is going to introduce the same legislation, right? So in all 50 states, they're going to have a vote on the same exact bill. So essentially, if Congress won't act nationally, they're going to have each state vote nationally, basically, on the same exact thing. President Dickface has vowed to curb gun violence after a 20-year-old shooter killed 26 people, mostly children, at a Connecticut school in 2012. Right? All that's bullshit. The Senate rejected his proposal for wider background checks for gun buyers. Lawmakers from 8 states were at the news conference, including Virginia, Alabama, New Hampshire, and Kansas. The only Republican lawmaker was State Representative Barbara Bollier from Kansas. We are a diverse group from red and blue states, and I'm convinced our collective action will have an impact, said State Representative Stacey Newman, a Democrat from Missouri. The group has not released information on its preliminary donors, but Kavanagh said fundraising efforts are underway. Members are scheduled to hold their first meeting on Tuesday. The Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence said last year that states had led the way in passing gun control laws. 8 states, headed by California, enacted major gun reforms since the Connecticut killings. California enacted its gun reform due to the Elliot Rodger fake killing, not the Connecticut fake killing. Voters in Washington state last month also approved legislation to expand background checks for gun buyers due to their false flag fake killing. The National Institute for Money in State Politics and Helena Montana said last year that fewer than 10% of gun control measures introduced in state legislatures after mass shootings in 2012 became law. That's a terrible sentence. But what they're saying is, since Sandy Hook, only 10% of the gun control measures that have been introduced have passed. Opponents of gun control. Now this sentence, I mean, where do you even come up with this bullshit? Opponents of gun control outspent gun control advocates in the 2011-2012 election cycle by about 800,000 to 21,000. More than half the anti-gun control contributions were from the NRA, the powerful gun rights lobby. So you're telling me that only $21,000 was spent by gun control advocates? Bloomberg pisses out more than $21,000. So I went looking to try to find who these 200 people are, and they have not yet published the list of their members, fearing political backlash. Well, if the people of your state supported this, you wouldn't get political backlash. You would want to be out front and center if people really wanted gun control, right? So they plan to address a range of issues, including domestic violence and the presence of guns. That's a huge one. How to effectively intervene in communities impacted by gun violence. That doesn't sound good. Mandatory background checks when purchasing a firearm in any arena. And overall, the way laws in one state may affect the trafficking of guns across state lines into another. And then Stacey Newman said at the press conference, in her state, the NRA has bought the majority party who are in control of our legislature. But she vowed to continue to try to reduce gun violence. As she said and she said is writing a bill modeled after the one passed in California. How coincidental. That would allow authorities or family members to get restraining orders keeping guns out of the hands of people who show signs of harming themselves or others. She said in an interview that she hoped the coalition would provide assurances to legislatures that legislators in other states are working on similar issues, and that it would also show citizens that reducing gun violence has broad national support. Bullshit. Broad national support. You drum it up with the sheeple by pulling off false flags, and then it fades away from people's mind because it doesn't really affect them on a day-to-day basis. And then you start fake killing people again, and then they're like, oh yeah, gun control, let's do that. And then it fades away, and then you have to kill more people. Gun violence, gun violence, gun violence. How's it working in Britain, right? They banned the guns, and now they're trying to ban the knives. Never ends with these psychos.